Right now, imagine someone powerful walking into the room. Before they say a single word, before they've proven they're intelligent, before they've earned your respect, your brain has already decided whether to follow them. That decision happened in less than 1/10 of a second, and almost none of it was under your control, because buried inside your nervous system is a survival program tens of millions of years old, one that still decides who you obey, before you even realize you're making a choice. Most people believe they follow leaders because those leaders have earned it, because they're competent, because they've demonstrated wisdom, because society taught us to respect authority. That explanation feels reasonable. It's also completely wrong. The real decision happened long before you consciously evaluated anything they said. Your brain has dedicated circuitry built specifically for reading social dominance, and it's brutally fast. The fusiform face area scans a person's face for subtle cues linked to status, the amygdala. The ancient alarm system buried deep inside your brain instantly compares those cues against millions of years of evolutionary experience, asking one question: safe or dangerous? University of Chicago psychologist Alexander Todorov spent decades studying this process. His research found that people form remarkably stable judgments about dominance and trustworthiness from a face in as little as 100 milliseconds. That's faster than your eyes can fully focus. The verdict is already in before your conscious mind has even entered the courtroom. But this isn't just an interesting quirk of perception. It's one of the oldest survival systems you possess. Imagine living 40 million years ago inside a small primate group, misread the hierarchy, challenge the wrong individual, ignore the wrong warning, and suddenly you're cut off from food, protection, mates, the coalition that keeps you alive. Natural selection didn't reward the smartest individuals. It rewarded the ones whose brains could instantly recognize who held power, without having to think about it. Every one of your ancestors survived because they repeatedly made the correct social calculation, generation after generation, long before humans had language. That ancient software is still running today, unchanged. The person you imagined walking into the room at the beginning of this video, your brain had already decided how much authority they deserved before you consciously heard a single word. Now here's something even more unsettling. In 1961, psychologist Stanley Milgram invited ordinary people into a laboratory. They believed they were participating in a study about learning. Instead, they found themselves administering what they believed were increasingly painful electric shocks to another participant, simply because a calm man wearing a gray lab coat instructed them to continue. Many participants hesitated. Some laughed nervously, others protested. Several appeared deeply distressed, yet nearly 2/3 continued all the way to what they believed could be fatal voltage, not because they were cruel, not because they enjoyed causing pain, but because once the brain accepts someone as a legitimate authority, disobeying them becomes psychologically difficult. The authority figure doesn't remove your conscience. They temporarily outrank it. That 100-millisecond judgment Todorov discovered. Did you feel it fire when you imagined someone powerful entering the room? Or did you genuinely believe your reaction was entirely your own? Drop your answer in the comments below. Because what your brain does after it accepts authority is even more remarkable. Here's something your brain almost never tells you. Following a leader isn't only about safety, it's also about efficiency. Every decision costs energy. Every uncertainty increases stress. Every possibility demands attention. Authority offers your brain something it desperately wants: certainty. The moment someone confident says, "This is the right answer," your brain no longer has to evaluate every alternative itself. Obedience isn't simply socially easier, it's metabolically cheaper. The brain is constantly searching for ways to conserve energy. A trusted leader allows it to outsource uncertainty. For your ancestors, that shortcut often saved lives. Someone had already spotted the predator. Someone had already chosen the safest path. Someone had already decided where food could be found. Thinking less wasn't laziness, it was survival. And here's where that ancient program becomes a full-body experience. The moment your brain decides someone can be trusted, your chemistry changes, oxytocin begins to rise, cortisol begins to fall. Neuroeconomist Paul Zak spent years studying this process. His research suggests that the same neurochemical responsible for bonding infants with their caregivers also increases when we place trust in leaders. Your nervous system doesn't make a sharp distinction between This person is protecting me, and this person is leading me. Both activate remarkably similar biological programs. But oxytocin doesn't simply create affection, it lowers vigilance. It tells your nervous system, you don't have to monitor every possible threat anymore. Someone else is watching. For our ancestors, that was incredibly adaptive. A trustworthy leader meant fewer mistakes, better coordination, greater chances of survival. But today, that same chemistry can be triggered by someone you've never met. A politician on television, a charismatic influencer, a billionaire giving advice through a podcast. A stranger whose entire existence in your life is carefully edited videos and perfectly rehearsed speeches. Your ancient brain responds to all of them, as if they belong to your tribe. The software was written for 50 familiar faces, not 500 million strangers connected through the internet. Think about every leader you've ever admired, every politician, every CEO, every influencer, every motivational speaker, every guru, every person whose opinion somehow carried more weight than your own. How much of that admiration was earned? And how much was decided before they ever opened their mouth? That's the unsettling truth. The oldest parts of your brain are still searching for someone to follow, not because you're weak, not because you're gullible, but because every ancestor who survived learned that choosing the right leader often meant the difference between life and death. Your brain still assumes that somewhere in every room, there is someone who knows the way. The only question is whether the person you're following actually does. Subscribe if you want more hidden psychology that quietly controls your everyday life. And watch this next because it reveals why your own memories can't always be trusted.